Hello everyone. Hello guys, how are you on today? Guess what time it is? It is story time with Ms. Doris. I'm so excited to be reading to you a live story on today. I'm so excited. We're running a little late. I had to do a Zoom class and I also had an event that I had to attend. Ms. Doris sang an awesome song today, Rockin' in Jerusalem by Mahalia Jackson. This month is Black History Month, so we are celebrating Black History Month on this month. Well, today is Valentine. Happy Valentine to all of you out there in Storytime land. I'd like to greet all of you all over the world. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and to some, good night. Someone is going to bed somewhere in the world, but guess what? You are just in time for story time with Ms. Doris. I'm so excited. Happy Valentine's to all of you. Happy Valentine's to you, Ernie, on today. I hope you're having an awesome day. Can't wait for our date on today. Happy Valentine's to all of my sisters. Lakeisha, hello Lakeisha, J. Marie, April, Erica, Rose, how are you on today? I hope you guys are having an awesome day. To my brothers, J-Rock, hey J-Rock, how are you? To Poppy and Donald, happy birthday to all of you. Happy birthday, Millie, my grandson Harmony, to Nelia, all of you guys. Hope you guys are having an awesome Valentine's Day on today. Red is my favorite color. What is your favorite color on today? Whatever color it is, I know it's a beautiful color. Let's go ahead on and get started with our story. Today's story, we're continuing reading on the Underground Railroad. So we're going to go ahead on and get started with our story. Let me turn the music down just a tad bit. The Underground Railroad, and this is written by Ellen Levine, illustrated by Larry Johnson. The Underground Railroad. Could you buy yourself? Sometimes if you had saved enough money, your master might sell you to yourself. Then he could give you free papers. These said no one owned you. You were a free person. A few owners let their slaves buy themselves. Most said, absolutely not. And others took the money and then refused to write the free papers. If that happened to you, there would be nothing you could do. One slave ran away from his owner and lived in Massachusetts, where he got a job and worked really hard. After a few years, he saved up his money and sent it to the owner. He said that since the man had once owned him, he thought it was fair to pay him. Other people disagreed with that. They said it was wrong to have slaves. They said it was wrong for anybody to pay money to be free. They said everybody had a right to be free. Why would you run away? Many slaves ran away because they were about to be sold. Sometimes an owner needed money, and so he or she decided to sell a few slaves. Or you might be sold if your owner died. Everyone was afraid of being sold to owners who lived in Georgia and Alabama. All slaves had heard stories about the terrible rice and cotton plantations down there, about how you worked all day and sometimes all night, about how might you be chained at night to keep you from running away, about some owners made you work so hard you got sick and died. Then they bought new slaves and started all over again. Many slave families were separated when a parent or a child was sold. You might grow up hearing about brothers and sisters you had never met. Brothers and sisters who had been sold before you were even born. Some slaves ran away because their owners beat them. Others ran because of broken promises. They had been told they would be free when the owner died. But the owner's relative cheated. They lied and said that the owner had never promised to free anyone. Some slaves said their owners hadn't been cruel. They ran away because they wanted to work for themselves and earn their own money. They wanted to raise their own families and live in peace. They didn't think anyone should own another person. Sometimes small things make all the difference. Louis Jones had worked hard for many, many years for his owner. Then one day Jones' aunt died. She was the only relative he had left. The owner wouldn't let Jones go to the funeral. He said there was no time to spare. That's when the Louis Jones decided to run away. Some slaves simply said they'd rather die than stay a slave. And so they escaped. Where would you first go when you run away? You might have to hide for several days, weeks, or even months before you found people to help you get to the north. Your owner would be searching for you, and so you would have to find a secret hiding places. Many slaves hid in forests and swamps. Some stayed in caves. Others hid in big trees. You might have to hide in very, very uncomfortable places like Hezekiah Hill did. For over a year, he lived under the floor in a friend's house. His owners offered a big reward for Hill, but the slave hunters never, ever found him. Finally, after 13 months, his friend found a boat that would take Hill to the northern city. The friend asked Hill to take along his 7-year-old son. The friend wanted his son to grow up a free man, even if it meant never seeing him again. What dangers did you face? The biggest danger was being caught, but there were many, many other dangers as well. While animals lived in the forests and swamps, alligators with jaws that were 2 feet long might snap at you, and you wouldn't want to run into a bear or a wild boar or step on a poisonous snake. One slave rode on a train heading north. He pretended to be a black tree. Suddenly he saw his owner come into the car. The runaway jumped off the train, and his foot was crushed under the car wheels. When he finally arrived in Boston, doctors had to give him an artificial leg. Slaves who ran away to the north were very, very brave. They suffered much pain and hunger along the way. Some of them even died before they made it. But those who reached the north said that they would face the dangers all over again just to be free. What would you get? What would you eat while you were hiding? You ate what you found: nuts, roots, berries, corn, and apples. You might catch fish or swamp rabbits, and now and then, if you were very, very careful, you might sneak into a farm at night and steal a pig or a chicken. Most of the time, you'd be too afraid to build a fire to cook. Someone might see the smoke. Some runaway slaves solved the problem this way. They would build a small fire and then go off and hide. Then they would wait until the fire burned down the coals and there was no smoke. Then it was safe to go back. They would cook the meat or fish quickly, wrap it in leaves, and move on to a new hiding place. Where was the safest place to go? Most runaway slaves went to the northern states. By the 1800s, slavery had ended in most of these states. The runaways fled to Philadelphia, Cincinnati, New York, Boston, and other cities and towns. But in the 1850s, a new law made it unsafe even there. The law said that slave hunters could come into a northern state, find you, and say you had run away. Then they would handcuff you and take you back to the South. And so you went even further north to Canada. The minute you set foot in Canada, you were free. There is a story about a fugitive who was chased by his owners across the bridge from the United States to Canada. When he reached the Canadian side, he stopped suddenly, turned around, looked at the owner in the eye, and grinned. He was safe and free. They were equals now. Slaves sang a song about Canada. Oh, old master, don't cry for me, for I am going to Canada, where colored men are free. How would you hear about Canada? Owners would tell their slaves that the North was a terrible place to live. They said the weather was cold, the land was difficult to farm, and the people were unfriendly. And they said that Canada was even worse. Slaves pretended to believe this. They listened and nodded, but in their hearts they knew that if the owner said Canada was terrible, it must be wonderful. Slaves learned about Canada in other ways too. Those who lived for a while in the North and were brought back South spread the word. And some fugitives secretly came back to the South to help their friends and relatives escape. They told about their lives up north and what it meant to be free. I enjoyed reading you guys an awesome short story on today, the Underground Railroad. And this today's reading was part 2. Take care, guys. Happy Valentine's. Remember, make sure you are practicing safety first at all times. Make sure you're washing and sanitizing your hands and wearing your mask. Take care. Drive safe out there. It's snowing. It's snowing in Vegas. Well, I enjoyed reading you guys an awesome live story on today. Take care again, and happy Valentine's. Remember, if you're not smiling on today, I hope once you see this Storytime smile that you are smiling. Happy Valentine's. I love you guys. Take care.